preview segment of the Three Quarters podcast, your official podcast for the 2018 Rugby Africa Gold Cup. Also remember to jump onto the hashtag Road to Japan to support your team as they still look to qualify for the Rugby World Cup in 2019 in Japan. I'm Tamima Dafio.
And I'm Ngara Kamuya.
So match day 5. First game was actually, match day 5 just in general was just filled. It was action packed.
Yeah.
Honestly. Both games, let's say, at some point you weren't sure who was going to win.
Yeah.
So the first game was Kenya hosting Uganda.
Yeah.
Game ended 38-22 in favor of Kenya. And I must say, I mean, we more or less thought that, or we predicted that Kenya was going to win.
Yeah.
But Uganda did come guns blazing.
Yeah.
You did see the impact of having Michael Wokorach, Philip Wokorach, and Ivan Magomu back on the team.
Yes.
You've got to give it to the Ugandans. At some point I was worried. I'm like, wait, what's happening? You know, I mean, game was halftime. I remember it was 28. What was it?
28-5?
Yes,
yeah,
it was at halftime.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, this looks pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
And then in the second half, Uganda just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Whatever they were told at halftime definitely worked.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was good seeing Felix Ayange playing at 14. I think he impressed on the day.
Yeah.
Of course, yes, I've mentioned your Ivan Magomu. You know, those guys are always going to have a stellar performance on the day.
Yeah.
I also remember seeing the fact that Kenya were more dominant in the scrums and the set pieces, but the counter-attacks from Uganda were just on another level.
Yeah. I mean, Uganda did bring the show. Uganda, and it's something we had said last week, that if Uganda were going to be able or to try and mount a challenge against Kenya, they'd have to recall their big guns. And immediately the team sheet went out early on in the week. We saw that the big guns had been recalled, and by the big guns I mean Michael Wokorach, Philip Wokorach, Ivan Magomu. They had all been recalled into the starting lineup. I'll be honest with you, as we speak right now, I think they're the most entertaining backline, Uganda that is, primarily because I think Namibia are a bit too structured. They don't have the flair, and Kenya are trying out too much.
Very many combinations
that have been tried out. So I think Uganda are the most entertaining backline. Kimono was back. Justin Kimono was back. And as you said, Uganda brought the show in every aspect. They came and as is usual when they come for these Elgon Cup games and Rugby Africa Gold Cup games in Nairobi, they come with a truckload of fans, which they did on the day.
And their own alcohol.
Yeah, that's true. So it was a very good game. It was a very entertaining game. As you said, Kenya were quick off the blocks, which we have seen in this Rugby Africa Gold Cup. Kenya always quick off the blocks. Registered a couple of tries, like Jacob Oje and Davis Chenge and Samson Nsomo going over the chalk. And then they were dominant in the scrums. And then Uganda just slowly got back into the game. And who were the keys to open up Kenya's defense? Ivan Magomu, Philip Wokorach. It's funny, just before the game, I was sat down and I was having something to eat. And I bumped into a Ugandan guy. And he told me that you guys have been talking about Ivan Magomu, Philip Wokorach being called back. You know that now they're back, it's going to be a problem for Kenya.
Yep.
And I told him that's very true. That's very true. Ivan Magomu on the day was just exceptional. He broke almost every tackle that he went into. He created chances for his centers. He created chances for his wingers. Ivan Magomu, Philip Wokorach have been playing together for, I heard when we were in Kampala, they've been playing together ever since they were like 14 years. So you can see the kind of chemistry and the telepathy that they operate with, and you saw it on the day. And they were just very entertaining, and the Kenyan crowd was very quiet for a very long time.
I can imagine,
For a very long time. Then as we've seen, and as is usual with the Kenyans, as we've seen the Rugby Africa Gold Cup, the game against Morocco, game against Zimbabwe, and this game, they came back into the game slowly. Their substitutes were very impact substitutes. When Moses Amsala came on, Peter Carrier came on, Simon Niafu, who's back from France, came on, and there were very impact substitutions, and the game swung back Kenya's way. But as also to add, Felix Ayange making his debut and scoring on his debut, a very good counter-attacking try. They soaked in the pressure from Uganda, and on the counter-attack they were able to hit him. I still think, and it's my opinion, I think the Kenyan technical bench is making a mistake in terms of the backline. What has always been very attractive about the Kenyan game has been its backline. And I think over the years you've had Isaac Adimo at 10, Nick Baraza, David Ambunya, Darren Mkidza, Tony Onyango, Jacob Oje playing in the back three. The switch that's happening with Darren Mkidza coming up at number 12, you can see there's a lot of inconsistency. There's a lot of they're not sure. And the forwards, the Kenyan forwards, are the ones who've been able to bail out the backs in each and every game. So it's a matter of tactics, and I guess the Kenyan bench is they're trying out whatever they can do just now, but it's a matter of tactics. But on the day, Uganda brought the noise. The score does not reflect the game, but the Ugandans brought the noise, and it was a very entertaining game of rugby. I would say, second to the Zimbabwe game, this has been the most entertaining game throughout the Rugby Africa Gold Cup.
So for Kenya, I know that you can only hope that for the Kenyans, they get their combinations right by the time they are meeting Namibia, because I think that is the opponent that will really test them in this Rugby Africa Gold Cup this year. And for Uganda, I think if they keep going the way they are going, they'll definitely get some wins along the way, and they'll maybe be contestants for at least runner-up.
Yes. I mean, and in future, I mean, what I would want to beg the Uganda Rugby Union is, yes, I do understand that they're trying to get some points at the Sevens World Cup, and that's the reason why we haven't seen most of the stars playing this Rugby Africa Gold Cup. And maybe they consider that this Gold Cup is gone, and I mean, they won't be able to make it for the World Cup in 2019 in Japan. But I would just like to beg the Uganda Rugby Union, just keep this team going. Develop your own sevens players. Keep Michael Wokorach, keep Philip Wokorach, keep Ivan Magomo playing the 15th game, because they're very entertaining, they're very good. And I can only imagine, Philip Wokorach is all of 23, 24 years. I can only imagine if they build up on this group of players, what they're going to be in the next 4 or 5 years. Philip Wokorach will be like 27. I mention him because he's the star of the team. They'll be about 27, 28 years at that time. So you can imagine the kind of firepower Uganda is going to be having at that time. So, yes, you deal with your sevens issues, but keep these guys playing 15s. Don't write off this tournament just because you don't think you're going to make it to the World Cup. Sports is entertainment at the end of the day. Just keep these guys playing this game, and I'm sure they want to play it. I'm sure Michael Wokorach, I'm sure Ivan Magomo, I'm sure Aaron Ofoirworth. I always get confused with that name. Who was the man of the match, by the way, in that game? I'm sure they want to play this game. So just keep them playing the game. So now we move on to our bad man of the match. Yes.
And while there were some good performances on both sides, I mean, obviously we've mentioned Ivan Magomo, Philip Wokorach, Michael Wokorach, and Aaron. I will not attempt to say yes. And even from the Kenyan side, you had your usual, Samson Onsomu. You also had the back three looking very good. That is your Jacob Oje. You also had Vincent Mose back, and you also had on the other side, who was it? Felix Ayange.
Yes.
I think they played very well on the day. But I love watching Vincent Mose play. To be honest, I mean, he is so. He's the type of player who you think you have, and then all of a sudden he's not there, and you're like, what's going on? But my bad man of the match would be Felix Ayange. I think he had a blinder of a performance in the sense that this was his first call-up, and he had a very good day. You couldn't tell whether he had jitters. He got in and he settled in as if he's been with them. The Kenyans, throughout the tournament.
Felix Ayange had a very brilliant game, and the guys that you've mentioned, I mean. On the day, the person who was voted man of the match was Aaron Ofoirworth. Just to make it easy, he's called Double Black. So that's so Double Black was the one who got the man of the match. But Ivan Magomo for me stood out at number 10 for Uganda. Philip Wokorach, 2 tries. Philip Wokorach was always going to have a good game. He does it against Kenya. But for me, my bad man was Vincent Mose. It's funny that when we were in Kampala and we were sitting down with some Ugandans, and they told you remember a while back, Vincent Mose was playing in Uganda because he was working there. And the Ugandans said that for 2 seasons, Vincent Mose was the best player in the Ugandan league. And we saw that. I just like the way he commanded his line. He's the last line of defense, he's the fullback, his maturity, his line breaks. You think that you have him, and then he's gone. He always breaks the first tackle. So he was very entertaining to watch. And you just like Vincent Mose, the fullbacks, he gets the ball, he aligns his guys, okay, come here, and he's running. So he was a joy to watch. It's unfortunate he went out. But look, just to show you what he is as a fullback, he's the last line of defense.
Yep.
That tackle on Marvin Odongo is what took him out.
Yep.
But
and that would have been a try.
It would have been a try, and that's the fullback's work. So my bad man is Vincent Wilson.
Well done to those two players and everyone on the day.
Yeah.
Second game was Tunisia versus Zimbabwe. So Tunisia hosted Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about everything else later on. But so Tunisia hosted Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
They won that game 18-14. They weren't winning until actually, they started off by winning. They scored the first try.
Yeah.
And then after that, it just kind of went downhill for Tunisia. And towards the end, they managed to claw back slowly. Just, from Zim errors. It wasn't even forced errors.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to Zimbabwe on the day. For me, I felt that the Zimbabwe team that played against Kenya the previous weekend was not the team we saw on that day against Tunisia.
Yeah.
But to be honest, the Tunisian team that we saw
against Namibia,
was definitely not the Tunisian team we saw against Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
They definitely pulled their socks up. They did whatever work they needed to do. They started off strong. They used their strong forwards. Those guys were like battering rams. And they took everything to their advantage. Penalties, quick starts, things like that. And they played till the last, till the whistle blew, basically.
Exactly.
So well done to the Tunisians on that victory.
Yeah.
Though, I mean, for Zimbabwe, I feel that that was not their best game. And had they played to their strengths, I feel that was Zimbabwe's game to lose, in my opinion. But very well done to the Tunisians.
Somehow Tunisia just have a way to get over Zimbabwe. They beat Zimbabwe last year in Harare, 1915. They beat them this year again in Tunisia. I can't remember the town, but in Tunisia. It wasn't in Tunis, 1814. And as you say, they just capitalized on errors. Zimbabwe made errors. Tunisia forced errors, but mostly because of Zimbabwe making their own errors. And this is what we've seen. We've seen in the game. I think perhaps their most close to complete game was against Kenya. We saw this against Morocco. They committed errors and they were unable to kill the game. This was the same case against Tunisia. They committed errors, they were unable to kill the game, and in this particular instance, Tunisia capitalized on the errors. And that's what they've been able to do. They kept it tight. They used their forwards because that's their strength. I am sure the climate somehow came into play, and because of their bulky set of forwards. And unfortunately for Zim, they were just unable to do it on the day. Look, there are going to be comments, and we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
People are going to talk about the fact that what happened earlier on in the week, which we're going to mention later. But I just feel, taking that into account, Zimbabwe, with the team that they have, with the preparations that they've done, with the firepower that they have, with Peter de Villiers on their bench, I feel like Zimbabwe should have been able to leave Tunisia with a victory. That did not happen on the day. So you have to congratulate.
And that's the nature of sports.
It is the nature of sports.
You've got to show up on the day to win the game.
Yes.
So for that game, my bad man of the match was actually the captain, Mohamed Mlis. I hope I have pronounced that right. But you could just see he was the fullback.
Yes.
And you could just see him sort of leading by example, basically. He'd come from the back, and you'd see he's a powerful runner. Not necessarily the biggest guy on the pitch, but also not the smallest. But you could just see, like, he'd sort of get everyone charged just by his performance. And I think that is one way of leading as a captain. So he was my bad man.
I remember watching him, I think 3 years ago, when Tunisia visited Kenya, and again, that time it used to be called CACAF. So yes, he is a very powerful runner, and as he's saying, he leads them from the front. My guy is Mohamed Ali Gersi. Because of the points that he was able to register on board for Tunisia and getting them back, and as being able to score those points towards the end of the game with high pressure moment, you're at home, you need this victory, having suffered a heavy defeat against Namibia, to have the nerve and to be calm enough to do that. I think he deserves at least my bad one of the game. So that was it for match day 5. Yes.
But guys should definitely tune in for the preview, because that's all we have for today. Guys, remember you can also find us on social media. That is by following us on Instagram, liking our page on Facebook, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. I'm Jimmy Madafio.
And I'm Naraka Muya.
So we'll see you in the preview.